Welcome to the Ancient Way. I'm James.
I'm Marlia.
I'm Cat.
Yeah.
Cat's back.
Guess who's back? Back again.
Oh, man.
Shady's back. That is not a Christian song. I should not sing that. I don't know that song. I've never heard it.
That's the extent of my knowledge of it. Actually, it only goes to Guess Who's Back again.
Oh,
my knowledge ends there.
I was obsessed with Eminem for a period of time in my life.
Huh.
And by obsessed, I mean
I feel like
a very
a lot
long
of
period.
I feel
of
like
time.
a lot of people probably were at some point.
Yeah. Do y'all remember
big.
like CD players, like carrying those around?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fun fact, when I was in the 5th grade, I hustled so hard to win my jump rope of heart. Have y'all ever heard?
Oh, yeah.
Where you got money because I was going to win a CD player. It was silver with dope headphones.
Oh, my
Sure
gosh.
enough, I won. Most sales.
Those little prizes. I remember that stuff.
Oh, yeah. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
I think we should re-incentivize
bring
that.
those
Jump rope
back.
for heart. Yeah.
Yeah, jump rope for heart.
Man.
Jump rope for native is going to be the new.
Mm-hmm.
Should. Person who jumps rope the most gets some sort of something.
I'll give you a red light panel.
Get a good enough CD player. Everybody's signing up.
Friggin' CD player.
Mine was blue.
I still have my little CD holder that you put on the visor up there with all my old CDs on it. Somewhere it smells like ashes, like smoke. But I still have it. They probably don't work.
I feel like
Ash or
so many people's got so full that it started falling off of their visors and they had to just keep it down in the console.
Just cram it in the side over there.
They had 3 in each pocket.
Mm-hmm. I totally did that too. That was my favorite thing when I turned 16. I got a black Jeep Cherokee. It's the first thing I did. I'm pretty sure I even had a Sims CD card that I put in there just because I wanted to have CDs in there. Did anybody ever play the Sims game? Nope. Just
I
me.
remember it. I think I played it once. You can do anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could build, it was like you build houses and you build families and.
Okay. Here's a question for both of you.
Okay.
Your musical journey, when was the first time you heard music and you're like, that's my favorite type of music? Because I wasn't allowed to listen to it for a long time. But my friends would listen to Eminem and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I'll never know what that's like.
I never grew up listening to music.
Okay.
My family never did.
Mm-hmm.
If we listened to music, it was on church on Sunday, and it was horrendous organs and pianos.
Mm-hmm.
So my taste for music is smaller than I would say most people's is.
But not smaller than mine.
Cat wins.
Oh, really?
But when I started playing high school basketball, I got into all the rap.
Okay.
Dubstep. James thinks it's ridiculous. I
think
like
it's
dubstep.
funny. I think it's funny. Those two are
anything with a
related.
deep bass.
Yeah.
Anything that's going to make you feel some kind of way.
Sense.
What about you?
So I didn't grow up listening to music except for some Christian music. We had Amy Grant, Rebecca St. James, Stephen Curtis Chapman. So I thought that was so cool that we had those CDs.
Oh, wow.
At the time. And then also we had my dad listened to a lot of older Keith Green stuff from when they were in ministry. And I actually do like Keith Green. I wasn't introduced to any other kind of music until I was probably 13, and my best friend's parents sang oldies from 50s, 60s, and 70s. So that's where my first introduction to music was. So I actually really love oldies music.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of the songs because I would go to gigs with them and stuff, which was really cool. And then I guess I didn't start listening to more stuff until I was 18, 19. And then it was kind of just whatever my friends were listening to. So some friends listened to Christian music, maybe a little bit cooler Christian music like Switchfoot.
Oh, yeah. I was into Switchfoot.
But then also Black Eyed Peas. And so it kind of grew from there. I never really had a favorite genre of music until somewhat recently when I realized I really like classical music. Because and orchestra music because I love the build up, the crescendo, and I feel like it has so much more power when I listen to it. Kind of like a movie score or something. Those really make me feel something. Other music doesn't usually make me feel things that it seems to do for the rest of the world. But
I've got 3 points on that one.
Okay, go.
1, Keith Green is epic. He really is. I'm a new fan of Keith Green. 2, I wasn't allowed to listen to anything. Like my mother, the church music and stuff, that's all they would play. And I would hear my friends, I would hear some rock and roll here and there, and I was like yearn for it. But I was able to listen to movie scores and classical music. And those get you.
They do.
They make you feel.
They do.
Immensely. Kind of way. So I listened to movie scores. That was my CDs.
Yeah.
And
I listen to a Thomas Newman playlist right now.
Yeah. Thomas. There's a bunch of like vague ones. Oh gosh. James Horner is one. It's epic.
I like Danny Elfman.
Danny Elfman's beautiful. He's got a cool story too. He does all the cool Tim Burton stuff. He's like his go-to.
I love Tim Burton.
Yeah, Tim Burton's epic. That's what I listened to. And then, got into the heavy metal stuff after that. But
yeah, it kind of just depends on my mood.
Classical is great.
Classical,
and if you sit through the whole song, like
it's an experience.
You can skip around, but it is an experience. I've never been to like a live performance of one.
Oh, you need to go to the symphony.
Freaking Hans Zimmer was on tour not long ago, playing all his stuff.
Even the symphony here in town is really good.
I know. I need to go to that one. It's on my list.
Oh, I was going to say something. I don't remember what it was. Oh, well.
It's so fascinating.
Did y'all ever have LimeWire?
Yes.
I did not.
Okay.
I wasn't into music at that point in time. And then I had friends I did have one friend give me like an MP3 download of like thousands of songs.
Wow.
And they were all like kind of indie. I don't even know what genre they would be considered.
Indie pop?
No. Like hipster music, I guess. I don't really know what hipsters listen to, but that's what it makes me think.
Yeah.
It's funny. Did y'all ever hear about, this girl, did y'all ever listen to Avril Lavigne?
Yes.
I know who she is, yeah.
Freaking loved her.
Yeah, I
and
remember.
Then Super Chick. Did y'all ever hear Super Chick was an alternative Christian band, but they did like punk. It was actually like super dope. It was like punk and rock and...
Yeah.
Anyways.
Did you ever listen to Evanescence before?
Yes.
She's pretty good.
She is pretty good.
Pretty epic.
We are dating ourselves so badly right now.
I was really here for the Newsboys, to be honest.
That was my first concert ever.
Okay, I lied. I was totally kidding. I didn't like the Newsboys.
I'm telling you, though, that was my first concert ever.
Mine was Jessica Simpson.
What about you, sir?
Sorry. Mine was a festival. And it was like Lamb of God, Korn, Rob Zombie, Five Finger Death Punch, all the metal bands. My first one.
A bit more epic.
Yeah.
In my defense, my counselor, who's kind of like took me under her wing after my aunt died, because she was my teacher and then she became a counselor. Jessica Simpson is her niece. And so she got me into that concert.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
That makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah. And I was running with my friends and I stumbled over a busted beer bottle and I still to this day have a scar. It's my first real scar. So every time I look at it, I'm like, Jessica Simpson.
Do you pray for her?
No, I just think Jessica Simpson.
Have you forgiven her?
I'm just kidding. Just the beer bottle.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding about thinking about Jessica Simpson.
Wow.
I really do have a scar from tripping over a busted beer bottle.
Wow.
I was running to the tomb. Just trying to get there first.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I got a scar on my head somewhere. There's like a dent up here. My cousin shot me in the head with a BB gun. Yeah.
Why?
I don't remember.
That just sounds
I don't remember. Probably because
just
he
sounds
shot
like
me
a
in the
boy
head.
thing to do.
Yeah, I get shot in the head with a...
Why girls live longer?
Yeah.
Speaking of, I took Bexley to the park today. Her and Charlie went, and these boys were out playing Nerf gun. Like, they were having a full-out war.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of actually brilliant. At Bergfeld Park, it's really great places to hide.
We should get some friends together.
Dude, I would do airsoft in a heartbeat out there.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be fun.
Have y'all ever done airsoft?
Oh yeah.
No. Cat.
Airsoft, paintball's good, but airsoft
Paintball hurts like a
airsoft, I don't like the little stings. I'd rather have a big old
whelp.
I'd rather get punched than the little sting of one of those things.
My older sister, for her bachelorette party, we went and played frickin' paintball.
That's epic.
Yeah, except when you have a strapless dress on and all you have is like welts on the back of your...
Y'all didn't gear up? Like y'all just went out?
No, why would we do that? That would like...
Because it's paintball.
Make sense.
Okay, yeah, well.
Yeah, no, we weren't fully geared up.
Yeah.
Just
obviously, Jesus.
If you had to pick like one epic story of something that like, you know that there were some better decisions that could have been made, but you're really glad you did it. Like it was an adventure. What would you pick?
either the paintball with my sister or the airsoft tournament that we had with our youth group.
Lots of adventures happen with youth groups.
I know. Lord bless us all. The fact that we still survived. No, we had epic airsoft tournaments. Like we'd go out to this house that had like 20 acres. So everybody was just out, decked out, hiding out. It was like a version of Capture the Flag.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually really fun. I felt like I should have gone into the military after that.
Yeah.
Little did I know I would actually marry the warrior.
The military warrior.
The military warrior himself.
King Leonidas himself.
Mm-hmm. It's true. We played laser tag one time out at a friend's ranch. This dude, Zach, is like on the ground, rolling over, diving after things, hiding, saying, "Go this way."
It's like hand signals and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
He had the whole gambit.
That's what he was trained for.
Yeah.
It's true.
I enjoy this. I'm not good at it. Like I probably couldn't hit anything from a distance shooting, but I always like the like kid camp things where you have like the foam, like, you know what I'm talking about? Those bars and you fight each other and knock each other into the foam
like
pit
the
or off of
gladiator
the
stuff.
I love that stuff. That stuff's good.
Sometimes you wish we could be a kid again. These would be fun adult
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be that
adventures.
hard to go find a place.
They have one of those at like iJump or something.
They
Oh,
do.
for real?
Mm-hmm.
Where you can
That
like,
urban air.
Urban
they
Air,
have one,
that's what it is.
you can beat people like that?
They have this big pit of like all these foam things, and they have a balance beam kind of thing, a little bit wider than a balance beam, and they give you these big things in your hand that are foam on the ends, and you try to knock each other off into the pit. Like, did you ever watch Gladiators, the show?
Yeah.
American Gladiators.
Yes.
Yeah,
they do that in
stuff
that one.
is great.
Did you know they're making a second Gladiator movie?
Mm-mm.
I heard. I didn't know if it was true or not.
Well,
Talking about a movie score. Oh my God.
yeah, that's one of my top favorite movies.
Yeah.
Top 3.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how.
Is it bloody?
A little bit. But I don't know how they're going to do that. And supposedly everybody's coming back, but I don't think they can bring back Russell Crowe because didn't he die?
Totally.
Spoilers.
Yeah, he didn't make it.
No, he went to be with his wife and kid.
Yeah, in the grain harvest field. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes they make sequels and they shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes something should be good and you just leave it there.
That one ended beautifully.
Yeah, it did.
It should be done. Anyway.
I love this.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like talking about the good old days when you realize you're in the good old days?
Yeah.
Have y'all seen that thing? No?
Mm-mm.
It's a freaking reel that goes all over freaking Instagram.
Really?
They're like, I wish somebody would have told me that we're in the good old days.
Makes you want to
When you're in
appreciate.
it.
Wish you would have appreciated it more.
But make today good.
That's right. Or today will be 10 years from now.
We'll be saying the same thing.
Same thing.
That's why it's so important to learn to be present.
I know it.
And thankful in the present for everything, good and bad.
Even the food you're eating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
According to y'all.
So we were talking about that prior to the episode. Fun fact.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that how you eat food changes how you actually can digest it?
Like how your body processes it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's about as present as it gets.
Yeah.
Too.
They talk about like finding the textures of the food and eating it with like thankfulness and just gratitude for the food itself and for how your body is being. I mean, literally, you could even do that I think you can do it for any food. I still think that it will do what it does, you know.
Yeah.
You drink whiskey, whiskey's going to do what whiskey does, but how it's metabolized could be different. I mean, it's still going to tear down your stomach lining, but
But I do think that there's something to that of like getting the full benefits of the food that you're eating by just being really, I mean, think about it. Something that's such a mundane everyday task, we don't put any thought into eating anymore, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But like to be so present with it and so thankful throughout the process, and it literally changes the way that our bodies metabolize it and use it and are able to access the nutrients that are in our food.
So true.
There will be fewer to access if you eat fried chicken than if you're eating
I will extract
healthy,
all of the oils. I'm actually going to sit here and meditate on all the fat, all the trans fat just flowing through me has no effect.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I think there's so much to healing that, I mean, there's so much information from all kinds of sources out there, but just to like really hone in on what our bodies are capable of. I was talking to somebody about that just today of like, yes, there's so much information, but like just how perfectly our bodies were created to heal and to rebuild and to like, it's never too late almost.
Yeah.
Totally.
Kind of like with God,
Yeah.
which makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, that he would make his creation the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
That's
never,
his nature.
it's his nature.
Yeah.
It's never too late. Our bodies are capable of so much.
Well, it's like where you place your belief is like where stuff happens. Like even eating with thankfulness. It's like if we put our faith in medicine or in the outward stuff, it's like what if I said, I'm so thankful for this powerful body I have that takes care of me and heals itself and rebuilds and digests my food and takes care of me. It's almost like the little bacterias in our stomach and gut and all that stuff. They're like almost angelic in a way that support us and help us. And what if that thought is like, I'll be fine. And it's kind of like being bit by the snake, Paul. It's like, what if he had that of like, no, I'm the Lord's creation. Like this venom will be expelled or just won't work.
Yeah. Or it's that you're going to charge me.
Yeah.
Like it's going to reverse. You think it's going to be
used for my good.
It'll be used for my good.
But it really is like, I mean, we're just these incredible.
You know, I was talking to somebody about that. And I have been saying this for a long time, and I've had so many people look at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah.
But I always say that your body only knows healing. Your body only knows how to heal. You don't need external things to fix you.
Yeah.
You don't even need a supplement. You don't need medication. You really don't.
Yeah.
Can they support? Absolutely. But it's not the one doing the healing. None of that's doing the healing. Your body is perfect. Your body knows how to heal. You just have to put it in the right position to heal.
Yeah. That was part of my conversation of like, yes, I believe that God can miraculously heal somebody on the spot, but like the miracle is already us.
Totally.
Like the miracle of the human body. My A&P lab teacher for 1 and 2, she said that she used to be an atheist until she started studying the human body. She said it was so perfect that she had to believe in a creator.
Yeah.
Like that can't happen through random chance, you know?
It's so true. And this is where I get off on, not to just jump on a rabbit trail, but the difference between the germ theory and the terrain theory. It's like germ theory is that all this disease is going to affect you. All these bacteria are going to affect you, when really the terrain theory has been proven is that what's happening inside of your body is going to be the determining factor of how your body is responding.
That's biblical.
Yeah.
Even the way the church is viewed is like the whole germophobic thing. It's like, let's lock away and protect ourselves from germs, from the nastiness.
Yeah,
There's a lot there.
You can't get disease that way because if your terrain is healthy, I mean, there's billions of bacteria everywhere.
Yeah.
There's billions of bacteria in you, trillions actually. But yeah, it's like if your body is experiencing something, it means it's communicating to you. So listen to what it's communicating. And then I think that's the quote unquote journey of healing that you go on is like, what are you saying to me here? Go.
I was just going to say that's kind of goes back to like, I feel like everything builds on itself, but that also reminded me of like our emotions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have these emotions and we're either taught we need to only listen to our emotions or, hey, lock it up. We have stuff to do kind of a thing.
Mm.
But your emotions are just another
Signal,
sign or signal of like, hey, there's something to go into here. There's something to bring to the Lord here. Let's figure out what's going on so we can heal. Another
Totally.
form of healing.
Mm.
Totally. I think the physical body is literally the same as the emotions.
Mm-hmm.
To me, they're actually not separate.
No, they're not.
They're completely the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an outward expression. But even it's not an outward if you think about it, because most of the things that are going on are internally.
Well, and the things that happen outward, symptoms, just think about symptoms.
Yeah,
symptoms
fever.
are outward.
Yeah.
But it's because of something going on
They're
inside.
expressions of something inward.
Mm-hmm. Like a fever.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks fever is bad, and we've got to take something to reduce the fever, and you don't want to medicate a symptom.
Yeah.
That's what phenotypes are, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. There can be different phenotypes for the same.
I had an example of this yesterday. It's not that nice, but I think it's a thing. It's really not, but I noticed it. But it's like if you see somebody that's like, say you go to Golden Corral, right?
Mm-hmm.
And somebody's just like enormously huge.
Yeah.
It's like a physical representation of like consuming constantly and like a self thing. Like, I don't know, but physically.
Yeah.
Vice versa. You know, there's just different things. You can see it physically, I think, a lot of times.
Totally.
It's just weird.
Even beyond the self thing comes from an even deeper wound or hurt that's going on.
An undealt with
thing.
But you can look at that in anything.
It's in anything, yeah.
Yeah. Like
whatever you're seeing is not really the true person or the true thing.
It's like drugs too, addiction.
Mm-hmm.
You take the form of, but it does boil down to something beyond what you're coping with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has to go beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're total beings, I think your physical health is a direct correlation to your emotional health.
Yeah.
And I think your emotional health is a direct correlation to your spiritual health.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are all intertwined. And I don't think you can be fully spiritually healthy if you're not emotionally healthy and if you're not physically healthy.
Yeah, that's an interesting dynamic because you would think like the core of all of it is the spiritual aspect of it. But you can kickstart emotional health by like just moving, I would say.
Yeah.
But I also think that like the spiritual side of it is kind of the foundation because it's that idea of like the more you see him, the more you're transformed.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think that the more whole that you get with the Lord and the more you look like him, the more that you are equipped and able to deal with those other things, to deal with the emotional and the physical. Not saying that I do think that moving your body helps with the emotional and helps with the spiritual. But as somebody who has dealt with major depression where I'm just paralyzed and struggle to do normal everyday things, and all I can manage is to just be with the Lord, like that heals things without me even knowing how or when or why. Like it just kind of happens and you can rest in it, which then gives me, I don't even want to call it motivation because it's not necessarily motivation. It's like a strength to get up and do things. And the more that you do and the healthier you get in all the different areas, it's like you get this momentum to keep moving forward.
I noticed that for me with the 75 hard, that it was once I committed into movement, because for me, it felt like I was like, I kind of have at least understanding in these other two realms of like what it looks like to be healthy and whatever. But I was struggling to move consistently. But when I started to move consistently, it felt like my body could process these other things that were going on so much more effectively. So to me, it's like they're all intertwined.
Yeah.
It's not a chicken or the egg coming first. It's kind of whatever place you're at.
Yeah, like what are you needing?
What
are you needing in that? Because I even know like Well, for instance, like Zach, like him, not to just uncover my husband, I love him, but once he could like start to really look at emotional things, the spiritual things unlocked, and things started to click for him and make more sense. And so, you know,
it's like for different people, wherever they're at and whatever their kind of like stopping point is or wall. I don't know what to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's different for different people.
But I do think that's part of the whole wholeness journey that we're all after, that we're all moving towards, is like,
Well, you could lay all that stuff out on the table too. Like, is there something physical that I could be doing? But it boils down. I think you can trim it down to like the choice, make a decision. Like you were saying with the 75 hard thing, like I'm not on that. We're not on that right now. Yeah. It's way easier for me to just mess it up.
Yeah.
But when you're committed to something and you've made an agreement, it's just like there's a resolve that's not there otherwise. When you have a time limit, commitment, or accountability, whatever that is.
And when you're doing it in community.
Community. Yeah.
Dude, there really is something to the community aspect. Like walking together with and in something. Like
we're built for it.
Yeah.
With common goals.
Yeah.
Common goals, but even like common understanding of like, yo, this is what we're doing. Just the covenant, you know, the covenant of like, hey, we're all founded upon this. This is the reality we choose above all else, which is him.
Yeah.
I think that shifts so many things.
Yeah. Him and wholeness. I think when your close friends are all after wholeness, it creates a safe space to be able to be your honest, most authentic self in all things, 75 hard and otherwise.
Yeah.
Yo, there really is something to that. Like the community that you surround yourself with. Like,
well, there's that whole saying of like, you become like the 5 people you're around the most. So like, be careful who you're around the most.
Like who you talk to the most.
And do life with.
I did have that feeling on Sunday. I've had a lot of feelings lately, but Sunday,
Congratulations.
Sunday I had that feeling of like, I felt for a moment, I was like, I kind of feel like it's okay to be messy, especially if your goal is wholeness.
Yeah.
If you know that's it, like it's okay to be messy or to mess up even, or to, be in that stuff.
That goes back to that thing of, I'm going to go on a little tangent.
Do it.
One, I think that vulnerability breeds more vulnerability.
Yeah.
But then back to that thing that you were saying earlier is, what is the conquer thing you said?
Somebody else said it.
But
you can't conquer what you don't confront.
Yeah. But you can't confront things that aren't brought to the light. And so when you're willing to be messy and vulnerable, those things come out, especially in community.
Yeah.
And they can be confronted and conquered.
Yeah.
But the more that you're vulnerable, the more that the people around you feel comfortable to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like I have such an easier time relating to other people that have messed up in their lives because I'm like, hey, me too.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, now we're on this journey to wholeness together. And so there's that common ground that opens things up and brings things to the surface that you wouldn't have it's kind of like you're more surface level friends until you can dig deep and be vulnerable.
When it kind of like the vulnerability and even the mess up stuff, it like demystifies what messing up is, because it looks like this looming monster that's like, oh, I messed up, a monumental failure. But when you share it, it's like, oh, that's just like a little
it's no big
rat.
deal.
That's nothing. And then it's like it relieves that thing of its power. It's like, that thing's not as powerful as I thought it was. And then you're free.
Yeah. You can have like that guilt and condemnation and shame or whatever going on in your head until somebody's like, so?
Yeah. Which is like you're under a spell or something.
Me
it's
too.
like, it's not real. Yeah.
Yeah. It's because we're stuck in our heads.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we need other people to speak into that sometimes. Like, that's not you.
Yeah.
We were talking about this earlier of like the balance between like connecting to the Lord in all things and then connecting to other people.
Yeah.
Like the space that you give people, it's like, who are you giving space to speak into you?
Yeah.
And it's like, have you talked to the Lord first about it?
Yeah.
Like, are you actually rolling on his level? And if it's like an issue, and your heart is to know him and
Mhm.
you connect to him first above all things, it's like he'll tell you like, hey, that's an issue. Hey,
Yeah.
let's work that thing out. And if it's not, don't listen to what other people are saying, because then you're going to listen to the opinions and the judgments of other people.
Yeah.
But I think there is an element of saying like, hey, this is what I'm processing. This is what I've heard from the Lord. These are the things that I'm moving through.
Mm-hmm.
You want to speak into that,
Yeah.
and letting those be the trusted people that you let speak into your life.
Yeah. I feel like I went through a few years of really like being offended often, but being aware that I was being offended and being like, okay, Lord, speak into this.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm not perfect at it, but I definitely feel like I've kind of honed that ability to be aware of how people make me feel. And when I say that, I just mean like which people to give space to and to let speak into my life versus which people to be like, you know what? They said that, they feel that way, whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. But there is definitely and like, I think it's so valuable to do that, to like assess with the Lord which people to give space to in your life and like let the other ones just kind of.
I've noticed for me, there's been different people in different seasons.
Oh, yeah.
It's like there are certain people that actually will speak what you need.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are certain times if you go to that same person outside of, for more or less like the allotted season that it was, it creates more confusion for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I've just seen that
Yeah.
in just like in my own stuff, is that I'd be like, hey, what do you think about that? And then it ends up, it feels like judgment. And I'm like, wow, I didn't see it going that way. That didn't feel right. And then when I go and process it with the Lord, it's like, oh, they don't see it all. Like they're not coming at it from an angle, you know? And so it's like, even letting that be okay, you know, like there's no pressure in that, but just realize it's like, okay, Lord, who can I drag this into the light with? Who can I process this with?
Yeah.
And know that those are going to be the safe people for that season.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I would also say that what you were saying reminded me of something. A pastor, when I lived in Hawaii, a pastor brought this up one time. He was talking about the ravens that fed Elijah.
Oh.
And he was talking about the symbology of ravens. It's usually kind of like a negative.
Yeah, like
connotation.
witchcraft. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's like, stay open to the Lord using anything, because he can use anything or anyone to speak to you, which I think ties in, like it's important to bring everything to the Lord.
Yeah.
Because you can have somebody that you wouldn't have a close, vulnerable friendship with say something that you wouldn't be able to hear from somebody else.
Yeah.
In a different way, different context, whatever the case may be, because the Lord can use anything.
That goes back to what you were saying about the offended thing. Like, I can be offended, but I'm aware that I'm offended. It's like being aware that he can speak through the strangest, craziest thing.
Yeah.
Like just the awareness, like the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
Yeah.
And gives him room to speak through anything.
Through whatever he wants.
Oh, yeah. And the seasons thing, too. I've been on that theme of like, I was thinking the other night about like some of my best friends back in the day and just, you know, all the phases and seasons. It's like people are there in the season for the time they need to be there. And it's like, some of them don't try to bring him back up here when it's not the time, you know?
Yeah.
But
I think you'll
and
have.
the Lord has told me that. I've had like one of my best friends too, that I had this desire to like reach out, like, hey, let's go hang out or something like that, kind of rekindle it. And I had a dream where he was like, this ain't the, don't do it, basically. Right. Which broke my heart, but I was like, all right, I'm going to trust you on it. But yeah, there's something about it.
It's like Avril Lavigne was popular for a season, but we don't want to bring her back.
Right.
Here.
Now's not the time.
I don't know if she's alive, if we're going to get into conspiracy theories. But
oh, yeah. That's a whole other.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think seasons matter, you know, and like what you're called to, or even to put your hands to in a season. I think that matters. Like, what's on the plate to cultivate in front of you? If you're trying to cultivate something from the past and it's out of season, it's going to feel like a lot more work and a lot more toil, I think. But if you cultivate what's in season, look at the harvest you'll get.
Yeah. Well, look at food in real life. Is that not a physical representation of how things happen?
Totally.
Probably.
And the benefits of them go up when they're in season.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The way your body processes them is different when they're in season. The nutrients you get are different.
Bro, talk about full circle.
I know.
Talk about full circle.
The Lord designed it that way. That's kind of what I was saying when things build on each other. It's like things are echoed in nature.
Yeah.
Like truth is truth. Always.
It's truth.
Is truth.
Bill Gilcrease
Science
sent me
guy?
no, the opposite. Now Bill sent me it was a Jordan Peterson thing, and it was like a Bible, a chart or a graph, and it basically lined out all these scriptures, and it had all the cross references to one another in it, and it made this like incredible, like work of art almost, but it just showcased how interconnected everything is. And it was, I'll just have to send it to y'all, but that's what you're saying. Like everything speaks to everything because the Lord designed it that way.
It's the toroidal, what is that called?
I was telling you about it the other day.
Well, and I already kind of knew about it, but I hadn't thought about it in this context. Like the energy field around the earth.
Yeah.
But it's like around everything.
It's in you.
It's in you.
Around you. Yeah.
It's around everything. But it's that same thing that keeps things like come back around.
Sorry, all those colors and stuff is like the cross references in the Bible.
That really looks like a rainbow.
Cool.
It's a rainbow.
It is a rainbow. It's a promise.
I don't remember how many cross references he said were in there, but it was like 60,000 or 16,000.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I'm trying to figure out the name of this thing that I was thinking of. But basically, it's like the frequencies and the energy field around the earth. And it kind of looks like it just goes in this continuous loop, right? On either side. And it goes out and then comes back in. And I feel like that's exactly kind of the way God works. Is like everything is just echoed and goes in season and out of season. And that seasons thing really is like being, again, awareness. I think awareness is keyword and everything. But like aware of the seasons and like I think we're all pretty good now at being aware when we're in transition. Because everything always feels like,
bro, everybody be in transition.
Feels like somebody just took all the ingredients and threw them up in the air and we're hoping they land right and make something in the end. Sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But like, I feel like we're kind of aware when we're in transition, but being aware of the season you're in and again, being present with that and being grateful for the season you're in and being great. Like for me with my parents, you know, my mom passed away in January. My dad had his stroke the June before that. But before they ever moved in with me, the Lord told me that I was going into a caretaker season before I even said that they could move in with me. And it was like, and I think that there's different kinds of seasons, right? Like you can be in a season within a season.
Yeah.
But I feel like the peace.
Like a wheel within a wheel.
Yeah. But I felt like there was such a different peace to know that the Lord was in it and that he told me that it was coming and to just like be able to rest in it. There was still a bunch of stuff that came up and it wasn't fun all the time, but it creates a different kind of peace in you when you're aware of the season you're in and you know that the Lord is in it with you.
Let's tie that back to our previous episode with you in it because you really covered that and the authority, like wielding authority in those seasons. You really hit on that episode.
But it's like you can be that present when you know the season that you're in, you can be like laser focused. Like, yo, this is what we're doing right now. I'm not even worried about anything else. Like I'm not going to entertain all the other things.
You know where to give your yeses and your nos to.
Yeah, you're clear in your boundaries.
Yeah.
Talk about the most simplistic, most practical thing.
Yeah. It's like God's with you. Wherever you're at, like he's with you. That's part of it.
Yeah.
Like the lamp into your path stuff that Daniel talked about, I guess 2 weeks ago, that's present. It's like you can see what step to take here.
Just the next step.
You don't have to worry about what's coming down the line. And there's definitely temptation to do that because, this has been a long season coming up on almost 2 years now since my parents moved in with me. A lot's happened in that amount of time. And you definitely kind of, the longer you're in it, the more sometimes it's kind of tempting to be like, what's next?
Yeah.
You mean like 40 years
I'm tired.
in the wilderness?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need some manna.
Yeah.
Like but But if I am present with the Lord and I look at it, I can see along the way the Lord orchestrating and putting people and things into place for the future.
Yeah.
Like hopes and dreams for the future, but also people and relationships. And then, skills I've learned and things I've enjoyed, people the whole thing. It's just like, okay, I see, like, even for the next season, while I'm in this one, there's prep work happening. So he's still with me. He still has like a future and a hope for me.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing.
Yeah. It's like one day I'll be able to look back and say, oh yeah, I did appreciate my CD player.
Yeah.
I did appreciate that music.
Yeah.
Thinking about that now, it's like you don't have to. This came up in guys group last week. It's like we've seen the end of the movie. I think you can kind of go into that heavenly perspective, and you probably can't see the clarity of it, but it's like just kind of one day I'll look back and be thankful that I was faithful here.
Yeah.
And that I withstood the test, and like was good in it.
More of like a macro perspective instead of a micro perspective.
Yeah.
Like you see the big picture with the Lord.
Which is vague, but I think it's as easy as like, I trust him, he's good. And I'm just going to stick to him in it. I think.
I think it gets really, really practical though. Like if you think about it, when we talk about like forgiveness or setting boundaries or whatever, it's like those are the micro things to do.
Yeah.
The little details that actually add up along the way. Like, what has the Lord told you? How do you follow through on that? Like those little micro decisions, if you will, is what you'll look back and be like, oh, look at that. Yeah. I'm really glad I made a bunch of those micro decisions.
Yeah.
Those are the little gold nuggets you scoop up along the way, I think. Boundaries, like those things. Maybe that's what's here.
On the topic of boundaries, because I'm a big proponent of healthy boundaries.
Yeah, Gary, you taught me.
Yeah.
You be teaching me those things.
But I was thinking about this the other day. I kind of did a teaching for some ladies on it. But when I was thinking about writing out what I was going to talk about, I kept coming back to forgiveness because the topic was like, how to establish and communicate boundaries with family during the holidays, because everybody has to go see family and it's not always the healthiest environment. So how do you have clear and kind boundaries? But I kept coming back to forgiveness because the main thing I came to was like, okay, in order to set boundaries, you have to know what your values are, right? And you have to like be clear on what those values are. But you can't really see clearly if you have unforgiveness towards people. Like you can't have clear boundaries or clear values if your vision, whether it is like actual physical vision, but just like how you perceive that person and how you interact with them is like colored by your unforgiveness. If you're not seeing them clearly, then you can't even start to establish your boundaries in a healthy way. It's kind of the key to having good boundaries, because otherwise they're not healthy boundaries. They're unhealthy, selfish boundaries, or they're unhealthy, like giving boundaries, because you're like trying to avoid conflict or trying to avoid
well, it's people pleasing.
Yeah, people pleasing, or just like, I'm fed up, I'm done with you. Yeah, and like totally cutting it off, which isn't the heart of the Father either.
Yeah.
Some people need to be cut off for a while. I don't want to misrepresent myself. Sometimes those boundaries need to be a hard line.
Yeah.
But I think it needs to start with seeing.
And awareness.
And awareness, yeah. But yeah, boundaries are importante.
Yeah, dude. I think for me, I set some really unhealthy boundaries with my family early on, where I did end up cutting them off for like 2 years. But I think that was the most beautiful thing. Even the Lord has brought so much restoration to that. But the key for me was always telling people what I'm going to do, not what they're going to do. And like, so when you're setting a boundary, is being very, very clear of like, hey, this is okay for me and this is not okay for me.
Yeah.
And it's not about their behavior. It's how you're going to show up in that space.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm not going to do this for you anymore. Hey, I'm not XYZ.
Yeah.
Or whatever that looks like.
Well, that takes the authority back because when it's reliant on them and what they're doing, like if it's a requirement of somebody else, first of all, we're not supposed to need anything from anybody, just the Lord.
Yeah.
So if it's a requirement from somebody else, that's handing away your power or authority or whatever you want to call it, rather than being able to be like, this is who I am. These are my values. This is who God says I am. This is what I will and won't do. Like, you know where to give your yes and your no.
Yeah.
But that's where like the actual power and like self-responsibility and self-awareness comes in. Like, yeah, I'm okay with.
One of the things though, kind of talking about full circle stuff or like the chicken or the egg or whatever, is I realized I became resentful and had unforgiveness because I wasn't putting boundaries, because I wasn't clear in things. It actually built up. I started to build cases against people.
Yeah.
And then had offense in my heart.
Never had the chance to do otherwise.
Yeah. Just because I wasn't clear about what I was okay with and what I wasn't okay with. I thought that was the most beautiful thing. I called Kat one day. I griped and complained. I had a lady that sat with me for 3.5 hours. And I was a little pissed at her, to be honest.
Of course.
I was like, I was okay with like doing some work, but then she like wanted to stay in it.
Yeah.
And anyways, I called Kat after, and Kat goes, well, I'm just going to be honest. That's your fault. And I was like,
yeah,
that hurt my feelings. That was literally my thought. I was like, that hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Damn, you're right though. Like it was just one of those things. It was just like, you're right. I didn't set that up.
Yeah.
Like that one, that's on me because I didn't set the boundary.
Oh yeah.
And
another thing to be aware of is your expectations.
Yeah.
Oh, bro. Listen, everybody go get a piece of paper and a pen.
Yeah, that's for sure.
You go write down, what are your expectations? What do you expect from other people? Blow that up.
Yeah.
Like, actually get rid of your
and do they know that you expect that?
For real. Have those expectations been communicated?
Yeah, some expectations are good and fine, but like if you
like
haven't
clean up your room,
if you haven't communicated them and then you get upset with them for not doing it, that's on you.
I have a praise report. I did that today.
You did?
I did. Going back to
I have a praise report.
We talked about this Sunday. Sunday you came up here and helped me with that website stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I get stuck to that 3-hour thing. I totally relate to that. But yeah, we were talking about it, whatever. And I said, yeah, I'm nice. And I open the door to people. How are you? You know, I open it. And you're like, yeah, that's what you do. I'm like, shit, you're right.
That is what I do.
That's what I do. Anyways, I took some things from you. You're a trustworthy person.
Oh, thanks.
You are. And that stuff was real. So this morning, had a meeting, and this individual I have these meetings with every now and then will obliterate my time and steal it for no reason, and it'll turn into like circles, and I'm like, we got nothing accomplished. You just wanted to talk. So this morning, they tried to start, but I stopped it, and I said, okay, here's what we're going to do today. We're going to lay out this list, and we're going to break it up here, and then I need a list of 3 things to move forward, and that will be the meeting. And it worked. We ended it. Yeah.
Would you look at that?
Yeah.
Would you look at it?
But the expectations thing, it's like, okay, here's what we do. And I thought about it. I premeditated this meeting because I knew and it worked.
Clear expectations.
Praise report.
It's brilliant, dude.
Yeah.
If you're not clear, I have seen this. I've seen this, and I have had messes in my own life because I didn't have clear communication or clear expectations.
Yeah.
Like, I can own that. But it's like when you have unspoken expectations about things, but then nothing is communicated, it will create chaos. But then when you're like, you know what? I'm actually going to take a little charge and a little organization in this thing. It's crazy what transforms out of it.
And there's more peace and the relationship stays whole.
Yep.
And stuff gets done.
Yeah.
It's good.
Bro.
Sometimes we don't know what we don't know. Like we're not always aware of what we need to think about and be present with. That's why community matters.
Yeah, it's true.
Because like
to be able to hear from somebody else of like,
like how they process things or how they do things or like input on your interactions because you you're not always aware that, hey, I need to think about what my expectations are and if I've communicated them and what am I, how is this going to pan out in the end?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like,
why does it feel chaotic, which makes me frustrated and them frustrated?
Yeah.
And everything just snowballs.
We actually have tools.
Yeah.
We actually have tools and things.
it doesn't always have to be chaos.
No.
But
yeah, what you said, you don't know what you don't know. And it's like those 3-hour meetings and stuff that could continuously happen over and over again. And then you're like, dang, I hate people. People suck. This is miserable.
But you were willing to be messy. I don't even remember how that conversation started when we were doing the website stuff.
I don't either.
You were just really overwhelmed that day.
I'm overwhelmed all the time. Yeah.
He's working on his
But
boundaries.
I voiced it. I told you.
Yeah. So you talked about it, which then gave me a place to say something.
Yes.
So like that goes back to what we started with of like,
Mm-hmm.
you can be messy with people and you don't know what you're going to get out of it.
Yep.
So good. I think that's what vulnerability is, though. It's like we're not.
It's really just honesty.
Yeah.
It's really just being honest.
Yep.
So true,
Honesty.
But learn to be honest with kindness. That's a skill.
though. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just honest. I interrupted you. Sorry.
No, what you say is way better.
It's just being honest. And I think so many people are used to putting on a mask to protect themselves.
Mm-hmm.
People have been hurt so much. And so they wear this mask without being aware that the mask is there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the more that you're honest and the more that you remove the mask, the more you are your true self and can walk in your authority and make change in the world.
I have a theory that just came to my head, and I'm curious y'all's thoughts. What if every time you have a trigger, it's actually triggering the mask that you're wearing? Because it's that false face.
Yeah.
It's highlighting something that's not your identity. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's actually like it's the mask that's getting. So if you're having like high intense emotions, it's like, okay, well, what?
Did we talk about this last time?
I don't know.
I just had insane deja vu. Like intense, insane deja vu.
Divine moment right here.
Maybe. But yeah, I think it's triggering something, some false identity, I think is what triggers are.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's letting you know a place where you're not in alignment.
Mm.
It's an indicator.
It's like when you twinge, like when your knee hurts when you're walking. It's like, oh, something's misaligned.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to do that.
But what if it's just a mask, an identity that
Mhm.
you believe? Because what if because I know there's a scripture, right? That's like, in your anger, do not sin.
Yeah.
And anger in and of itself is just that a boundary has been violated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally, like that's the kind of core about anger, is that something, like little kids, they get mad if somebody gets too close to them. And so what do? They respond in anger and they push them away. What if it's, go?
No.
Okay.
Keep going. What if
Well,
it's-
I'm just saying, my thought on that was like, what if the anger is just a signal about a boundary that you hadn't put in place because you believe something else about yourself?
Yeah.
or
and
them.
Or them.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah. That's
I'm
interesting.
on this rabbit trail, though. I do think that people, if you're triggered by somebody, it's because they're reflecting something about you that you haven't integrated, that you haven't let heal inside of you.
The people I've been most triggered by in my life are people
Mirrors.
who have something going on that I have actually, let me say this, not integrated. It's something that I haven't changed my belief about myself with. So it's like a part of my false identity that hasn't been fully removed, that my mind is not aligned with the Lord on, where I'm not seeing myself as my true self. Because it's not actually that it's like some healing that hasn't taken place necessarily. For me, anyway. It's like people who act in a way that I hate about myself or have shame about or guilt about or something like that. That's for me anyway, when it's triggered. And it's like, oh, that's a place where I'm not believing what God says about me. I'm believing what I feel, like what externally I'm processing, like shame, guilt, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I was just thinking through so many scenarios, and I can see in my own self where I have been treated in a way that I actually treat myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like without kindness, without covering, without like it's been judgment, it's been kind of criticism, it's been like, and I'm just starting to think through. I'm like, yeah, I can see that.
It's when it's affirming something that you believe about yourself already.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, I can think that in the quiet, in the darkness about myself and never address it. But once somebody else says it, it pulls it up.
Or just responds that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To confirm that thing,
mm-hmm.
quote unquote. Those are big.
Wow.
Which is really the opportunity for you to say, hey, I'm actually going to break agreement with that.
Mm-hmm.
Which was...
It's another symptom.
Yeah. I don't know. I was just seeing that. I was like, yeah, dude. And then when like Bexley fell off the deck and I kind of had my whole purge of loss, that I believed that I was worthy only of loss, that everything in my life was going to end in loss. And to have that thing ripped out and then replaced, I can see how that shifting has been happening, where the triggers weren't my body doesn't even respond nearly the same.
Yeah.
Like there's more peace and there's more love there. And there's like...
And then when that trigger happens again, your response is going to be different because there's been healing.
Yeah, because you remove the lie.
Not that Bex is going to fall off the deck again.
I put a dadgum
railing up.
Yeah.
Let's say Zach put it up so he can redeem himself.
For real.
Good job, Zach. It's beautiful. But yeah, I think the Lord, man, he uses everything. Even the things that like we feel are rotten about us or bad about us or whatever. Like, man, why can't I get that yet? Like, it's not about that. He is an ever-present God.
Yeah.
Meaning that he is present in each moment as though it's the first and biggest and most important moment. And so
that's a lot of what I was feeling, processing my stuff with the Lord of like, man, why can't I feel like I need breakthrough in this? And he was like, you don't need breakthrough. You need to remember the covenant. And it was like the covenant, when you remember the covenant that you have with him, that is what will cause the breakthrough. That will cause all those things that you've been wanting or needing or that you don't believe if that's going to happen or not.
Yeah.
It's like, will that ever happen? I don't know. No, remember the covenant that you have and sit in that.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the rest of it. If it's coming, when it's coming, whatever.
How it's coming.
Yeah.
That creates more anxiety. That creates turmoil.
And don't worry about how you're going to accomplish it.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, because it's not for you to accomplish.
No. That kind of goes back to that scripture you said earlier too about be angry and sin not. It's like be angry. You have permission to feel it.
Yeah.
But sin not, like what you do with it is what matters. And the opposite of sin not is remember the covenant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because really sin at its core is just a lost identity.
Yeah, you're going about it the way you weren't meant to. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't forget, when you're angry, don't forget who you are.
Yeah.
I'm going to rephrase Paul. Don't forget what we have.
Yeah.
Don't forget what
Remember who you are.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, Mufasa.
Be
I
angry.
hear you, Mufasa.
Yeah. Be angry and remember who you are.
Yeah.
Is a way you could, reword that.
There's something to that.
And remember the I am.
Yep.
The I am is in you. Say la, dude.
Say la.
There is, sitting on that is brilliant.
A lot of power in it.
Oh, yeah.
Because you don't have to, I think when you're thinking about it in terms of like, what do I need to do? How am I going to work this out? What's going to come up? When's the next shoe going to drop? All that kind of stuff. Like you kind of feel powerless.
Yeah.
And I think powerless people react.
Powerlessly.
Yeah.
But it's easier to react instead of respond. You know?
Well, it requires much more courage
Yeah.
to respond versus to react.
Yeah. But I'm saying like, if you are aware of the Lord in it, in your season, in what you're doing, whatever that is, like the power comes back because it's not on you to figure it all out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still plan and dream with the Lord and be responsible, but like the power is him.
That's where his grace is sufficient.
That's like, I don't know. I was just thinking about how to have compassion on people when you were talking about that. I don't know why compassion jumped up, but I was like, oh yeah, you can have compassion when you realize that people who don't know who they are will do things that people who don't know who they are do.
Yeah.
They make messes.
Yeah.
They, like, if you know who you are.
Yeah. You wouldn't do that.
Yeah, you just wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Well, that's that whole forgive them, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
thing. Like, genuinely, and it's hard to do when you have big feelings in an experience with other people. But like, this goes back to the first episode I was on, because I think I talked about this, where I believe so deeply that anytime people are acting or speaking or whatever in a way that is outside of who God created them to be, it's because there's a part of them that doesn't believe that God is good, doesn't see themselves the way God sees them. It's just a part that's not aligned with the mind of Christ. So it's that, it goes back to always forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. Even in like the office, when some person is just, you know, not respecting us or not treating us well or whatever. It's like everyday stuff. It's an awareness of, hey, they're acting this way towards me. It's because they don't know.
It's a very deep not knowing. It's like when they're, you know, ripping Jesus' back out with the cat of nine tails, that thing.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, he knows what he's doing. He's doing it.
He's
like,
hitting me.
Deeper than that.
Yeah.
It's deeper than that behavior or whatever, the action even.
You know what? I'm going to go back to that mirror thing though. But if you don't know who you are, you don't have compassion on people who don't know who they are.
Yeah.
You can't access that part of you because you're like, they know what they're doing, you know, like.
Yeah. But, I was going to say something and it left me. Guess I wasn't supposed to say it.
It'll come back. James happens all the time.
Yeah.
Like little birdies that
After
take
I curse myself and talk bad about myself, about how stupid my brain is, like earlier.
You should probably do a ritual to break all that word curses off of you.
Off of myself, the ones I place. You know what?
Put a little holy water on you.
I don't know what I'm doing. I forgive myself.
See?
Thanks. Oh, like what you were saying. It is that mirror thing, because you can't love others as you love yourself if you don't love yourself.
Yeah, dude.
I was thinking that.
That's what I was going to say.
That's it.
Oh, see?
The women's group I taught for the other day, her main tagline that really got me interested is like, loving yourself isn't selfish. And I think that especially like kind of in the Christian community, we're taught to be just totally selfless all the time. But I think that you have to really see yourself and love yourself the way God does before you can even think about really loving other people. You can do things, you can have behaviors or actions that you do, but to actually have compassion on them and really love them, you have to see them the way God does. There's no way you can do that if you don't see yourself that way first.
Yeah, because he first loved us. You have to feel that.
Yeah, you actually have to experience the love.
And it's like, if you love somebody that much, you can flip that around and say, like, he loves me as much as I love that person. It's that reciprocal, like, feeling, I think. Can you imagine, like, I mean, yeah, there's that selflessness where you, at the expense of yourself. It's like, I'll love people and be selfless at the expense of my well-being. But I think that's a trick, is like, if you can see God's love for somebody else and not yourself, that's something to be had, something that's available.
Do you think that you got a better understanding of God's love for you when you had a kid?
I wasn't like in the moment. I wasn't like in that thought process.
Yeah.
But
You didn't feel.
I do. I mean, there's the definitely responsibility and it made me more selfless. But now I will say yes, because I would die for her.
Yeah.
Do anything for her. And
Never
I know
want
he
to
would
make her feel guilt or shame. Or
no,
talk
absolutely.
bad to her.
No, not at all. Like and I want her to know that. Which blows my mind when people talk about God that way. And they don't know any better.
They don't know.
But in my own personal thing, I'm not about to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know he's not like that. He's not.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, it changes.
Triggered me.
Dang it.
Golly. Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, messed up before.
Sure.
I've definitely shamed my daughter.
Yeah,
before. But my overall person, like what I'm constantly trying to do is not that.
Yeah.
I'm very aware of not shaming her or guilting her. I'm very aware of anytime she comes to me being present and shutting everything else down for the most part.
Sure.
And like, yes, what would you like to talk to me about? Because it's just, that's the heart of the Father.
It is.
To just be present.
Yeah.
He doesn't push you aside.
It makes me think too, like the very things that you desire. You know, like if you would go into yourself and be like, hey, what do I really desire from a father? What would a healthy father look like? What is that deep desire? Because I know everybody's got one.
Yeah.
You know, like a healthy, okay, well, what does that look like? And I think if you wrote down those things, you would then begin to see God show up in those ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and then it's almost like a focus point or a
filter through which you see your interactions with God.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can actually identify the very things that you want in a healthy father.
Yeah.
Do you think that you'd be able to boil them down consistently, like with different people? Do you think it would boil down to some of the same characteristics? Yeah.
I totally think so.
I do too. Like certain categories, buckets, every interaction, everything that you want. Because people could write long, very detailed lists, but I feel like they'd all boil down to like the same. I don't know exactly what those are, but I was just thinking about that. Write your list.
For me, I've already done this. I've had to do this and like sit in it. The number one thing, and I know it's the thing that draws me to God's heart, is to feel so seen. Like I want to feel completely seen and understood. And that's like the place, like when I'm really with him, it's like, oh, I am seen by you.
Yeah.
You really do understand me. That whole like seen and known thing.
My heart.
Yeah. You know, I think it's even like, hey, you know the desires of my heart. I always felt like that scripture about like, you know, what is it? Commit your ways to the Lord and he'll give you the desires of your heart.
Yeah.
Psalms 40.
Well, another one too, it's like he also, like you accept me and you approve of me.
Yeah.
Like I have your stamp on me. That's a good one.
Oh, that is a good one.
It's like, oh, that feels like a relief.
Yeah. But that whole desire of your heart thing, I used to think that my desires, like they were worthless unless they were like, they had to be his desires. Yeah. So it was like, oh, wait, he put those things within me.
Yeah.
I actually have a desire for love.
Yeah.
And for healthy relationships and healthy friendships and a healthy family. You know, it's like those desires themselves are good desires.
I was thinking of a different verse. Oh, well.
Delight yourself in the Lord.
That's Psalm 34.
Oh, 34? Okay.
Or.
Yeah. The one in 40 is, I delight to do your will, your laws within my heart.
That's good.
But I think.
Which is love the Lord your God.
Yep.
We've covered lots of practical life things today. We didn't really talk too much about supernatural things.
I think those things
are kind of our supernatural.
They are.
They become, I think they become mystic when you apply the practical.
Well, I think being aware, or you could say conscious even, like aware in all those things that we've talked about, I think is kind of a more bringing heaven to earth kind of a thing. Your mind is on above, things above, not on below.
Yeah,
well, you create a clear portal, I think. You create, like, there's such clarity when you're in that space, because then it's like, I see, so I will plant. But if you have, I think everything else that we've talked about will create you to be carnally minded.
Yeah.
It's like the ways of the carnal mind. Look upon yourself, criticism, unforgiveness, lack of boundaries, like, all of those create focus upon self.
Yeah.
But
Zach and I were talking about that too, the heavenly perspective thing of almost like if you separate, and I've said this, going to third person, heavenly perspective, and like, okay, James is here and he's in this meeting with these people that want to kill him.
Yeah.
What should James do from this perspective? I'm no longer in the middle of it. It's like I've lended my perspective to God, or he's lended me his perspective. It's a deeper connection point with him. And it's like, what's the responsible heavenly Jesus thing to do here?
Mm-hmm.
I think it takes being aware on a level of like, get out of the, the emotions are indicators, right? But like separate from the situation for a little bit. Let's go into space and let's look down at this.
Yeah. I think
and
that's
what is
hard.
the best move to make
Mm-hmm.
for these people, for him? Like, what is the responsible heavenly thing to do here?
If you don't believe, though, that God is going to value you and value your perspective and value, like approve of you in that, I think it's very hard for people to get into a third person perspective because it's that whole thing about, what about me?
Yeah.
Did you forget about me?
For sure.
And so I think, sorry, you were saying that and I was like, yeah, dude, like that is so important. But I see also where the limitations can come in.
Yeah.
Of just a limited belief.
Mm-hmm.
How much limiting beliefs?
Yeah.
Didn't you teach a whole thing on that?
Well,
but that's where awareness comes into play. I think it's another.
How is that a limiting belief?
What?
Well, what you were just saying, you could see that it could be a limiting belief if you get that heavenly perspective.
No, not having the heavenly perspective, like
gotcha.
About yourself being in, like, well, what about me? Like, you can't detach yourself from the situation if you have a limiting belief about, like,
There's
what about
steps to
me
it.
in this?
Like, it's cloudy right here. Let me get the clouds out of my eyes first, and then it's a degree. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think that's hard for people.
Sure.
I think the practice of getting into a heavenly perspective is very difficult, especially in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, I guess it goes down to the awareness, like, hey, everything's cloudy and I see nothing in front of my face, but you're with me.
Yeah.
Or at least I choose to believe that you're with me. Yeah.
Well, not to go back to the chicken or the egg came first kind of a thing, but I feel like it could also be, in those situations where it's hard to get a different perspective. I think that the practice of it, the awareness of it, first of all, that it happens, an acknowledgement that like you play a part in it, and to be willing to like submit to the Lord versus what you're like, not believing what you're experiencing and feeling in the moment. Like they can be acknowledged, but don't necessarily believe that those are truth, because sometimes that heavenly perspective shows you where you're being triggered and how you're responding and what the bigger picture is and how he sees the other person. And I feel like, yes, your feelings are valid, but they're valid in that they tell you something about what's going on. Yeah. So like being willing to submit everything to the Lord and being like, what are you doing in this situation? What are you saying in this situation? Because I think that's where the easy part comes in. It's like Jesus did what the Father was doing and said what the Father was saying. It's like that's where that yoke is easy and burden is light part comes in, is like just always being willing to say, to like surrender.
Yeah.
But you have to be aware that you need to surrender.
Yeah.
Or that you can.
That you can, that you're able to.
That's probably the prerequisite to all of it.
Yeah.
Really.
Which then comes back to believing that God is good.
Yeah.
And willing and worth surrendering to, and that he's
him.
Got your best interest at heart.
Yeah.
And the best interest for the other person. And he has ways that you can't even imagine to work all things together for your good.
Yeah.
And their good.
That's it.
So good, dude. It's just freaking good. That surrender thing. That is the way of the kingdom in everything.
Yeah.
Lay down your rights.
Yeah.
It's good.
How long is this episode?
I don't know.
Crush the crap out of it.
Hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
Love it.
I think that's a good place to end.
Surrender.
Yeah.
Remember who you are. Surrender. That's right.
I'm going to deepen y'all's voice.
Please do
like
it.
James Earl Jones on here.
Drop
Anything else? Is that good?
Hold on. Will you pray for people, Kat? Will you do an out loud prayer?
Yeah, sure.
Just the listeners and all that, if there's anything.
God, thank you so much for each and every individual who's listening to this. Lord, first and foremost, I just pray that these people would know that you are good, that their eyes and their ears would be opened to the goodness of the Lord, that it wouldn't even be a question, and maybe where hurts and false ideas of who you are have been standing for a long time, that they would just be wiped away like the Jordan River, that they would be just totally erased, and that they would be able to see clearly who you are. I ask for just a restoration of hope, a restoration of like purpose and destiny, and to just know that they are good in your sight, that there's nothing that they have to do or say for you to love them or to count them worthy, because you've already shown that in your actions. And you continue to be an ever-present God. Lord, I just pray for dreams and vision for their futures. Vision for not just hope, but for everything in their sphere to be lit with light. Like dreams for creative things and for building things, for businesses, for family, for art. Lord, just all the things that you've put inside of them, that they would get supernatural inspiration and excitement for. And Lord, I just pray that you would begin a healing inside of people that is gentle, that is not, it's not a, hey, we have to rip all these roots out right now and get everything cleared out, but that it's gentle and it's easy with you, and that all they have to do is be with you, that they would know that and believe that. Amen.
Mm-hmm. I saw something when you were praying.
What'd you see?
So I felt, I'm just going to throw it out there to people. I laughed because I was like, is this because we kept talking about the chicken or the egg reference? But I saw an egg cracking open, and I felt like there was something that was cracking open for people.
Yeah.
But there was this anticipation, like, am I getting basically a yolk, or am I getting an egg? And I felt like, to encourage people, it doesn't matter what you get. There's good in both.
It's good.
Yeah. Like if it cracks open and you get a yolk, that's going to be nourishment for your body. If you get a chick, it's going to add multiplication.
Yep.
And so it just felt like it doesn't matter what's coming. The Lord is cracking something open for you.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
and he has only good
in mind. For only you. Good in mind. And so hold that, hold the belief that something is cracking open for you.
Mm-hmm.
So
I saw underwater eggs, like from a fish.
That's funny.
Yeah. They were like underwater ones, like a pile of them, you know? Like, is that a frog or a fish or whatever?
Fish, they both do that.
Yeah. They're underwater.
Beautiful.
That's cool.
Bro, it's submerged in the spirit.
Yeah.
I like that. Good stuff. But yeah.
We're always awkward at ending these. Yeah.
God is for you.
God is for you.
Live long and prosper.
Long and prosper, and live and be aware.
Be aware.
Surrender.
Get you some good friends.
Yes.
Real talk, though. Everybody get you a cat.